Walking has been the cornerstone of health advice for decades. Doctors recommend it, fitness trackers count it, and every public health campaign celebrates it. But here's what most physicians won't tell you outright. After 60, the very walking routine you've trusted for years might be quietly accelerating joint damage, throwing off your balance systems, and even increasing your fall risk. The science is clear, yet it remains buried under decades of one-size-fits-all guidance that never accounted for what happens to your body after 6 decades of life. Right now, millions of people over 60 are logging their daily steps, convinced they're doing everything right. Meanwhile, their knees are grinding down cartilage with every stride on concrete. Their hip flexors are tightening into painful knots. Their feet are losing the very architecture that once kept them stable. And the medical system keeps telling them to walk more. It's not that walking is inherently bad. It's that the way you're probably doing it, on the surfaces you're choosing, with the stride patterns you've developed over a lifetime, can become a slow-motion injury after 60. Your joints have changed. Your connective tissue has changed. Your nervous system has changed. But the advice? That stayed frozen in time. I'm going to walk you through 3 movements that address what walking after 60 often misses. These aren't trendy exercises pulled from social media. They're grounded in how your body actually ages, what it needs to stay resilient, and what research from rehabilitation medicine and longevity science keeps showing works. The second one surprises most people because it involves almost no movement at all, yet it can rebuild strength that decades of walking never touch. But the first? That's the one that might completely change how you think about mobility. It targets a system in your body that walking not only fails to train, but often makes worse. And that system is the single biggest predictor of whether you'll stay independent or end up in a cycle of falls and fear. Before we go further, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from and how old you are. I'm curious who's here and what's driving you to rethink the walking advice you've heard your whole life. Let's start with why walking after 60 can become a problem in the first place. Your joints aren't the same as they were at 40. Cartilage, that smooth cushion between your bones, thins out naturally with age. It doesn't regenerate the way it did when you were younger. Every step on a hard surface, every mile on pavement, every walk where your foot strikes the ground with your full body weight, that's compressive force traveling up through your ankle, knee, and hip. When you're 30, your cartilage absorbs it. When you're 65, you're grinding bone closer to bone with less protection each year. Some people feel it as a dull ache. Others don't feel anything until the damage is already significant. Doctors see this constantly. Patients come in after years of healthy walking, with knee osteoarthritis that's advanced enough to need injections or surgery. Then there's the pattern problem. Most people after 60 walk with a shorter stride, a slower pace, and less push-off from the toes. It's subtle, but it's measurable. That altered gait means your hip flexors stay in a shortened position for more of the day. Over months and years, they tighten. Your lower back compensates. Your hamstrings weaken. You end up with a movement pattern that actually increases your fall risk instead of lowering it. Walking isn't training your balance. It's automating a compromised pattern, and here's the part that almost no one talks about. Walking is forward motion. That's it. Your body moves in one plane, in one direction, at one speed. But life doesn't happen in one plane. You twist to look behind you. You step sideways to avoid something. You reach up or bend down. Walking gives you none of that. It doesn't challenge your lateral stability. It doesn't train rotation. It doesn't ask your nervous system to adapt to unpredictable surfaces or directions. So, when you do need to move in a way that isn't straight ahead, your body isn't ready. That's when falls happen. That's when ankles roll. That's when hips fracture. Research from rehabilitation centers has shown that people who only walk for exercise often score poorly on multi-directional balance tests. They can walk a straight line just fine, but ask them to step sideways quickly or rotate their torso while standing on one leg, and the system fails. Walking built endurance. It didn't build resilience. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's 67, a retired teacher from Oregon, and she walked 5 miles every single morning for nearly a decade. She felt strong. Her cardiovascular numbers were solid. But one afternoon she stepped off a curb at an angle she didn't expect and her ankle gave out. She fell hard, fractured her wrist, and spent 2 months in physical therapy. When her therapist tested her, Margaret couldn't balance on one leg for more than 3 seconds. 10 years of walking hadn't prepared her body for one moment of instability. We started her on the movements I'm about to share with you. Within 6 weeks, she could hold a single-leg stance for 30 seconds. Within 3 months, she told me she felt more stable on her feet than she had in years. She still walks, but now it's only one part of her movement practice, not the whole thing. So, what do you do instead? You don't have to stop walking, but you do need to add 3 specific movements that address what walking leaves out. These 3 movements train your balance system, rebuild strength in ranges walking never touches, and load your joints in ways that actually protect them instead of wearing them down. Movement number 1 is the tandem stance hold. This is where you stand with one foot directly in front of the other, heel to toe, like you're on a tightrope. Hold that position. No movement, just hold. Your goal is to stay there for 30 seconds without wobbling or stepping out. If that sounds simple, try it right now. Most people over 60 can't do it for more than a few seconds the first time. And that's the problem. This position challenges your vestibular system, the inner ear mechanism that governs balance. Walking doesn't do that. Walking is stable, predictable, repetitive. Your vestibular system gets lazy. Tandem stance wakes it up. Here's why it matters. Your vestibular system is what keeps you upright when the ground is uneven, when you're moving in the dark, when something unexpected happens. Studies from balance research labs show that vestibular decline is one of the strongest predictors of falls in older adults. Stronger legs won't save you if your inner ear system can't tell your brain where your body is in space. Tandem stance trains that system directly. It forces your brain to make constant micro-adjustments. It recruits stabilizer muscles in your hips, ankles, and core that walking never touches. And it does all of this with 0 impact, 0 joint stress, and 0 need for equipment. Start by standing next to a wall or counter so you can lightly touch it for support if needed. Place your right foot in front of your left, heel touching toe. Let your arms hang naturally or hold them out slightly for balance. Focus your eyes on a point straight ahead. Hold for 10 seconds, rest, switch feet, repeat 3 times on each side. Do this every morning. As you improve, try it with your eyes closed for a few seconds. That removes visual input and makes your vestibular system work even harder. Within 2 weeks, most people can hold this for 30 seconds on each side. Within a month, they notice they're steadier on stairs, more confident on uneven ground, and less afraid of tripping. Here's the kicker. This movement also trains something called proprioception, your body's ability to sense where your joints are without looking. After 60, proprioception fades. You don't feel your foot position as clearly. You don't sense when your knee is bending too far. Tandem stance brings that awareness back. It's like tuning an instrument that's been slowly going out of tune for years. Now let's talk about movement number 2. And this is the one that surprises people because it barely looks like movement at all. It's called the wall sit, but with a specific modification for people over 60. You stand with your back against a wall, feet about 2 feet out in front of you, and slide down until your knees are bent at roughly 90 degrees, like you're sitting in an invisible chair. Then you hold. That's it. No reps, no motion. Just an isometric hold. Why does this matter? Because walking doesn't build leg strength. It maintains it at best. After 60, you lose muscle mass every year, a process called sarcopenia. Walking won't stop that. It won't even slow it much. You need resistance. You need your muscles to work hard against a load. The wall sit does exactly that. It loads your quadriceps, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your core, all without any impact on your knees. In fact, when done correctly, it actually strengthens the muscles that stabilize your kneecap and can reduce knee pain over time. Data from orthopedic rehabilitation shows that isometric exercises like the wall sit can increase muscle strength significantly in older adults, often more safely than traditional weight training, because there's no movement through a joint's full range. You're not bending and straightening under load, which can aggravate arthritis. You're holding a position, and your muscles are working intensely to keep you there. Let me tell you about Raymond. He's 71, a former contractor from Texas. He walked every day, but he started noticing he couldn't get up from a low chair without pushing off with his hands. His legs just didn't have the power anymore. His doctor told him to keep walking. It didn't help. We added the wall sit to his routine. 30 seconds twice a day. Within 2 weeks, he could hold it for 45 seconds. Within a month, he stood up from his couch without using his hands for the first time in over a year. That's not a miracle. That's what happens when you actually load the muscles that walking ignores. Here's how you do it. Stand with your back flat against a wall. Step your feet out about 2 feet, hip-width apart. Slide your back down the wall until your thighs are roughly parallel to the floor. If that's too deep, only go as low as feels manageable. You should feel your thighs working hard, but you shouldn't feel sharp pain in your knees. Hold this position for 20 seconds. Rest for 1 minute. Repeat 2 more times. Do this every other day. As you get stronger, increase the hold time by 5 seconds each week. Your goal is to build up to 60 seconds. If you have knee pain, start higher up the wall, with your knees only slightly bent. You'll still get the benefit. If it feels too easy, try it on one leg, with the other foot lifted slightly off the ground. That turns it into a balance and strength challenge at the same time. The wall sit also does something walking can't. It teaches your nervous system to tolerate discomfort under load. After 60, a lot of people avoid any exercise that feels hard because they're afraid of injury. But strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from controlled stress. The wall sit gives you that stress in the safest possible form. No falling, no twisting. Just you, a wall, and the decision to hold on for a few more seconds. And here's what most people don't realize. Stronger legs directly reduce your fall risk. When you start to trip, your body has a split second to react. If your legs are weak, you can't recover. You go down. If your legs are strong, you can catch yourself. You can step quickly. You can stabilize. The wall sit builds that explosive strength in a way that walking simply doesn't. Now we come to movement number 3, and this is the one that addresses the single biggest gap in most walking routines: lateral strength and mobility. It's called the lateral lunge, but we're going to do it slowly, with control, and with modifications that make it safe for anyone over 60. You step to the side, shift your weight onto that leg, bend the knee, and then push back to the starting position. It's a side-to-side movement, and for most people who only walk, it feels awkward at first. That's exactly the point. Life doesn't only happen in a straight line. You step sideways to let someone pass. You reach across your body to grab something. You twist to look over your shoulder. Walking trains none of that. It leaves your hips, adductors, and abductors, the muscles that move your legs out to the side and pull them back in, weak and stiff. When you need to move laterally and those muscles aren't ready, that's when you lose balance. That's when you pull something. That's when you fall. Research from biomechanics labs shows that lateral movements activate muscle fibers that forward walking barely touches. They also train your brain to coordinate movement in multiple planes, which is critical for real-world stability. Older adults who include lateral exercises in their routines have been shown to have better overall mobility scores and fewer falls compared to those who only do forward motion exercises like walking or cycling. Let me tell you about Linda. She's 64, a former nurse from Florida, and she walked religiously every morning. But she kept tweaking her hip whenever she bent down to pick something up or stepped sideways to avoid her grandkids running past her. It wasn't severe, but it was constant. We added the lateral lunge to her routine just twice a week. Within 3 weeks, the nagging hip discomfort was gone. Within 2 months, she told me she felt more agile, more confident moving in any direction. She said it was like her body remembered how to move the way it used to. Here's how you do the lateral lunge safely. Stand with your feet together, hands on your hips or out in front of you for balance. Take a step to the right, about 2 feet, keeping your left foot planted. Shift your weight onto your right leg and bend your right knee, pushing your hips back like you're sitting into a chair. Your left leg stays straight. Hold for 1 second, then push through your right foot to return to the starting position. That's 1 rep. Do 8 reps on the right, then 8 on the left. Start with no weight, just your body. Do this twice a week. If bending deeply feels unstable, don't go as low. A small bend is still effective. If you need support, stand next to a counter and lightly touch it with your fingertips as you step. If you want to progress, hold a light dumbbell at your chest or slow down the movement. The slower you go, the harder your muscles have to work to control the motion. That's where the real strength comes from. The lateral lunge also improves your hip mobility, which walking doesn't address. After 60, your hips tend to lose range of motion, especially in rotation and abduction. Tight hips lead to compensations in your lower back, your knees, your ankles. Everything starts to hurt because your hips can't do their job. The lateral lunge opens up that range. It stretches your inner thighs. It strengthens your outer hips. It teaches your body to move through space in a way that's functional and protective. And here's something most people miss. The lateral lunge trains deceleration. When you step to the side, your body has to control the descent, stop the momentum, and then reverse it. That's a skill. Walking doesn't teach it. But that's exactly what you need when you slip on ice or step off a curb wrong. You need to be able to decelerate, stabilize, and recover. The lateral lunge builds that capacity. So let's take a step back and look at what we've built here. The tandem stance trains your balance system and proprioception, the very things that prevent falls. The wall sit builds the leg strength that walking can't, giving you the power to recover when you stumble and the ability to stand up without assistance. The lateral lunge trains multi-directional movement, hip mobility, and deceleration, preparing your body for the unpredictable demands of real life. Together, these 3 movements address every gap that walking leaves open. You don't need a gym. You don't need expensive equipment. You need a wall, a small amount of floor space, and 10 minutes a day. That's less time than most people spend scrolling on their phone. And the return on that investment. It's the difference between aging with confidence and aging with fear. It's the difference between moving freely and moving cautiously. It's the difference between independence and dependence. Here's the protocol I recommend. Every morning, do the tandem stance hold. 3 rounds on each foot, building up to 30 seconds per side. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, add the wall sit. 3 rounds, starting at 20 seconds and building towards 60. On Tuesday and Thursday, do the lateral lunge. 8 reps per side, 2 sets. That's it. That's the week. You're training balance, strength, and mobility in a way that's sustainable, safe, and backed by how your body actually works after 60. And here's what you'll notice. Within 2 weeks, you'll feel steadier. You'll catch yourself thinking less about where you're stepping. Within a month, you'll feel stronger getting up from chairs, climbing stairs, carrying groceries. Within 2 months, people around you will start commenting that you're moving differently. You'll stand taller. You'll move with more confidence. That's not cosmetic. That's structural. That's your nervous system and muscular system adapting to demands they haven't faced in years. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Walking isn't the enemy. It's just incomplete. If you love walking, keep doing it. But do it smarter. Walk on softer surfaces when possible. Grass, dirt trails, rubberized tracks. Save your cartilage. Vary your pace. Throw in some intervals where you speed up for 30 seconds, then slow down. That trains your cardiovascular system and your legs in a way steady-state walking doesn't. And for the love of your joints, don't walk in worn-out shoes. After 60, your feet need real support. Replace your shoes every 3 to 6 months if you're walking daily. But make these 3 movements non-negotiable. They're not supplemental. They're foundational. Walking can be part of your movement practice, but it can't be the whole thing. Not anymore. Not after 60. Your body has changed. Your needs have changed. The advice needs to change too. Let me leave you with this. The goal isn't to live in fear of movement. The goal is to move in a way that respects where your body is right now and builds it toward where you want it to be. You're not trying to move like you did at 30. You're trying to move like a resilient, capable, strong person in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. That requires intention. It requires specificity. And it requires letting go of advice that was never designed for you in the first place. So here's my question for you, and I really want to hear your answer in the comments. Which one of these 3 movements are you going to try first? And what's the one thing about your current walking routine that you're realizing might not be serving you anymore? Tell me your story. I read every comment, and your experience might be exactly what someone else here needs to hear.